Do you dwell more on your weaknesses or your strengths? I was asked that same question recently and couldn't immediately answer it. But then I made a realization. They just may be two sides of the same coin. I'm Barry Kibrick, and as always, it's good to be back with you. Now, when I delved even deeper into that notion, not only did I see them as two sides of the same coin, but that our greatest strengths actually spring out from our most concerned weaknesses. So let's set free those strengths and feel the wonder within our weaknesses. You and I both have our weaknesses, and we also hopefully have our share of strengths. However, not only do they come from the same source, but our weaknesses hold our strengths within them, and all we have to do is liberate them, so we not only can see our strengths, but apply them to our actions. When I was younger, the first time I felt a real weakness within myself, I wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. The weakness that I felt was fear-based, as most of them are. Mine was a fear of getting beaten up. Coming from Queens, New York, I saw fights break out in the schoolyard on almost a daily basis, and it frightened me that one day it may be my turn. It felt like such a weakness on so many levels that I did everything in my power to get rid of it. What finally did the trick for me was playing football. I was convinced that if I could turn myself into a good, strong football player, I'd eliminate that fear. Now, it only took me about 30 years to realize this, but it was that fear that kept me strong. And not only is it still with me, but it encourages me to keep working out and staying stronger. This led me to the notion that instead of trying to eliminate that weakness, I embraced it and let it be one of my guides throughout my life. Dr. David Randall, author of The Freak Factor, is a true believer in how weaknesses are the true strengths that we possess. Some examples he gives I found very comforting. For instance, if you're disorganized, maybe that really means you're creative. If you're inconsistent, just might mean you're flexible. Indecisive, might mean you're really patient. Impatient might just be that you're passionate. So you see, if hidden in our weaknesses lay our deepest strengths, our duty is to open the weaknesses, casing them in, so that our strengths are not only seen and realized, but grow. However, you and I know deep down inside how hard that really is. But here's the key that I'm confident makes it easier. If we can at least recognize our weaknesses, which is not too hard, although it does hurt when you have to admit it out loud, it really does get easier to accept them. In fact, it doesn't mean you have to be proud of your weaknesses. It just means that you are aware that they are containing your strengths. And when you take that into account, it naturally flows with much less effort. And there's been a lot of research that supports this. Doctors Todd Kashdan and Robert Diner, who wrote An Upside to the Dark Side, did many studies that showed how an awareness of a weakness is the first step to uncover the strength, and once it's uncovered, because the strength is a stronger presence, it can become second nature. And most of us will no longer think so much about the weakness that it sprung from. But the weakness can fall into the background of our consciousness. But this is very important to deeply understand. It won't happen by magic. We do have to take a deep dive within ourselves so that we can deliberately make this happen. It's a good practice to actually see what you feel is a weakness and experiment how it can be utilized as a strength. And for the record, deep fears are really a good starting point. They are the things that are most annoying to us anyway, and therefore they'll come to the surface even quicker. But don't forget that success at first won't be measured by how you turn it around, but by the fact you've recognized it. Come to terms with it, and then be able to even embrace it. It's not just inner mind wordplay. It will not work. It has to be felt in your heart, your gut, your soul. Cannot just hang around in your head. Both of us are too cerebral for our own good much of the time, and could unwittingly reinforce our weakness if we leave it just to thought. Nope, this one we have to really believe deep down that it's not just in our head. That's the way we can pry the weakness open and let the strength shine through. And another element to this is that action, a physical change, must also accompany the awareness. That action is what we pry open our weakness with, and the strength then reveals itself to us. And we cannot stop there. You have to strengthen the newfound strength. Remember, it's been hiding in your weakness for a long time and needs action to reawaken it and to get it to where you'll be your best and thrive. But here's the cool thing that happens once you take even the first step of realization. And this is a universal fact, so you can't escape from it, even if you try. It's called the law of momentum. Momentum in physics is mass in motion. As Newton described it, an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion. Once you make the slightest move of recognizing your weakness and put that into motion, it cannot stop unless an equally powerful force meets it head on, which is why we want to get it out of our head in the first place, to give it just a slight bit of motion. And the one thing we cannot fear is, even if we fail at this when we first realize it, the truth is our inner strength can never be overtaken by the weakness encased in it. Plus, becoming aware of your weaknesses does not imply that you also don't develop your natural strengths that you also are already aware of. Remember, they both need to be fed, just in a different manner. They are both hungry and vying for our attention. We need to continue to develop our natural strengths just as much as we must liberate them from our weaknesses. So, When you get to that fork in the road and clearly see your weaknesses and strengths and realize they're coming from the same source, you can put in the momentum and let it roll from there. As the great sage Yogi Berra said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it, because you won't go wrong with either path you choose. Just get the ball rolling. Keep the momentum flowing and go along for the ride. Till next time, water your weaknesses and watch those strengths grow.
Thank you for watching. It's a joy and a privilege to bring this show to you. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss an episode. And please visit our Patreon page by clicking the link below. We so appreciate your support, and thank you so very much.